other people can watch this presentation. You can send this to people in your organization if they don't have an opportunity to see it and you think they would be interested. So my name's Simon Trevelyan. I am president of ST Legacy Group, a consulting company that helps charities to develop their legacy programs, or plan giving programs, as some people call it. So today's presentation is, what do Don Draper of the TV show Mad Men and your legacy program have in common? So what I'll be covering is, first of all, we'll have a look, of course, at Don Draper. I hope some of you have had an opportunity to watch the TV show Mad Men. It's a great TV show. We'll actually be seeing Don Draper in action in a few minutes. And then we'll look at why emotion is so important to legacy giving. Examples of charities that don't use emotion, that use a more traditional approach to engaging people in legacy giving. And then I'll show you examples and results from charities that have, one charity that has started to use emotion to engage people in thinking about leaving a legacy. And then I'll talk about how you can use emotion in how an emotional approach, then we'll look at how emotional your approach is. So some research tools that we have developed at SD Legacy Group to actually assess how emotional your legacy program approach actually is. And then finally, steps that you can take to integrate emotion into your legacy engagement and marketing processes. And finally, questions. So first of all, I'll just try and get rid of this on the top left-hand side. There we go. So hopefully some of you have watched the TV show Mad Men and you've seen Don Draper in action. Don Draper is a fictional character. He was a marketer on Madison Avenue during the 1950s and 1960s. And he came up with a new approach to advertising products. He used an emotional narrative, so stories that everyone could relate to sell products and services for his clients. And you may think, well, what relevance does this have to the charitable sector? And I'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, what I want to do is to actually show you Don Draper in action. So what we're going to watch now is a video of Don in action. And just to give you some context to this, Don Draper, you can see there in the background, he's standing up next to a board with the Hershey's bar brand on it. And Don, as an advertising executive here, is making a presentation to the executives, to the CEO, and the people in charge of Hershey's. And he's trying to convince them that his advertising campaign will be effective for Hershey's. So here we go. We're just going to watch a few seconds of this presentation.
Every agency you're going to meet with feels qualified to advertise the Hershey bar because the product itself is one of the most successful billboards of all time. And its relationship with America is so overwhelmingly positive that everyone in this room has their own story to tell. It could be rations in the heat of battle or in the movie theater on a first date. But most of them are from childhood. Mine was my father taking me to the drugstore after I'd mowed the lawn and telling me I could have anything I wanted, anything at all. And there was a lot. But I picked a Hershey bar. The wrapper looked like what was inside. And as I ripped it open, my father tousled my hair, and forever his love and the chocolate were tied together. That's the story we're going to tell. Hershey's is the currency of affection. It's the childhood symbol of love.
Well, weren't you a lucky little boy?
So there we have Don Draper in action. And why that's relevant for us today in our jobs in charities is corporate marketing is really no different from the marketing we do to engage people. The ways that corporation engages their customers in thinking about making decisions really is no different from the way that charities should be engaging their supporters. And what works for corporations will probably work for charities as well. Now, I think some of you already know this, but what was happening at Don Draper's time in the 1950s and 60s was that advertising executives and corporations were moving away from focusing on products, focusing on the product, that informs people and speaks at people. So rather than telling people how great the Hershey's bar was, how great the flavor was, the great chocolate and ingredients they used, telling people how good their product was, they focused instead, as you saw in that clip, on emotions and values. Don was communicating with people about the things that relate to them, their life experiences. So the focus was on emotion and values, not on telling people how great the product was. And here's an example of an old-fashioned marketing approach that focuses on product. This is the Red Ryder, and much of this advertising is just focused on what the product is, how good the product is. Now, we know that advertising has really been transformed since the 1960s, and what marketers and advertisers now try and do is to focus on lifestyles and values. So not talking about how great the product or service is, but focusing on the reality of life for the consumer, their lifestyles and their values. I would submit that exactly the same thing is happening in legacy giving that happened in the 1960s with corporate advertising. That in the legacy giving sector, we will see a transition away from marketing products, in our case, how to leave gifts, the mechanics of giving, or indeed promoting the great work that we do as an organization and speaking at people and telling them about our products, towards an emotional focus where we start to reflect the aspirations and values and life experiences of our donors. We communicate with people, and that is how we engage people and hook them into our messages. Now, this the theoretical basis for this has already been established. Some of you may be familiar with the work of Dr. Russell James, a researcher who, well, actually he's not a researcher, I think he's a financial planner, who was able to do some research at the University of Texas with people that had left a legacy gift to a charity, and he hooked them up to an MRI machine, and he was interested in finding out what area of the brain they made their decision-making when they thought about leaving a charitable legacy. And what he found is that the decision to leave a charitable legacy was made deep within the emotional area of the brain, particularly the area where people think about their autobiography, so their life experiences. So it's really what people are thinking about when they leave a legacy gift. It's not the taxes they're going to save, not how they make a legacy gift, but why they make a legacy gift and the things that have meaning to them. So their life experiences, their values. So legacy giving is very much about the donor and the things that matter to the donor, not the things that matter to the charity necessarily. So really, legacy giving is about linking the things that matter to donors to your mission and vision and showing them how a legacy gift is part of that connection. And I'm going to show you in a minute some good, I think, a good example of how that can be done by a charity. But first of all, focusing on one organization that I worked with, Savor Canada. Savor Canada are an organization that work in the third world and trying to eradicate blindness, preventable blindness in the third world. So they train local practitioners, ophthalmologists, and caretakers to actually perform simple operations so that people can get their eyesight back. So we work with them to develop an effective legacy marketing campaign, an effective legacy engagement strategy. And one of the first things we did was to look at their brand, their legacy brand, and create a brand that would resonate with their supporters. So what we wanted to do is to find out, first of all, well, what was the reality of their supporters? Why did their supporters come to Save Canada? And most of them came to Save Canada because they themselves had eye problems. They had gone to an ophthalmologist. Many of them had cataracts, and they had cataract surgery. And they wanted to give back to people that didn't have the advantages that they did, a first world country with great eye surgery and eye care. They wanted to give back something. So the legacy program we branded as Legacy 2020, which resonated a lot with those people because they all knew what 2020 meant. With Save Canada, the whole acquisition and cultivation process is based now on emotion, not on information. So they don't talk about how to leave a legacy gift at all. They don't do any gift planning with their legacy donors, with their donors at all. But what they do is they use a highly emotional approach to engaging people in leaving a legacy gift. Since they reconfigured their program and moved away from talking to people about how legacy gifts could be made and the different gift planning vehicles, they have converted over 4% of their donor base to a legacy commitment. Now I'm going to show you an example of an organization that uses technical information to try and engage people in leaving a legacy. The latest research, again by Dr. Russell James, has shown that even simple technical terms decreases attention span. So even when you use a word like bequest, attention span drops off 7% for men and 14% for women. So let's take a look at an organization that actually use technical information. And I want to compare this to the organization that I'm going to talk about later on that uses emotion and show you how they use emotion. But first of all, let's go to, and I do apologize to the Anglican Church, but I've used them as an example of an organization, and many organizations are still like that. So I'm going to their webpage where they talk about what planned giving is. And I'm just going to read for you the first paragraph. Planned giving or gift planning is the process of designing charitable gifts so that the donor realizes philanthropic objectives while maximizing tax and other financial benefits. Generally, a planned gift is any gift of significant size made with forethought about the benefits to the church and the financial implications to the donor and the donor's family. Now I'm going to stop reading there, and I hope I haven't put some of you to sleep already, but I would submit that this legacy website will put most people to sleep if they kept on reading. It's like watching paint dry. It's incredibly dull. It's incredibly technical. It talks at people. Now, what I want to do is to show you an example of an organization that has done something completely different. But first of all, I want to show you the results that we've seen when we work with organizations that switch from a technical approach, so looking at how gifts can be made, to an emotional-based approach to their legacy program. And what we've seen with organizations is up to a 19-fold increase in legacy gift commitments and leads. So, for many organizations, what we found is emotion works to engage their donors in legacy giving. So the organization that I'm going to use now to show you how they do that is called Union Gospel Mission. It's a rescue mission based in Vancouver. Now, first of all, some context to this organization. For over 20 years, their program, their legacy program, was based on donor visits. So a gift planning officer would meet someone, would try and develop a relationship with them, and then ultimately talk about the different ways they could leave a legacy gift and the tax implications of giving. When I talked to that organization initially about 5 years ago, And I told them that, look, they might want to consider switching their approach to an emotional-based approach, and showed them the results that we'd achieved with other organizations. They weren't interested because they said an emotional approach would not work for their charity. But 2 years ago, they decided to switch to an emotional-based multi-channel engagement system. And we encouraged that charity because they were looking for a new gift planning officer. We actually encouraged that charity not to hire someone in the role of a gift planning officer that had any knowledge of the technical aspects of leaving a legacy gift. Now, for most organizations, that would be a no-no. You wouldn't have somebody running your legacy program that knew almost nothing about how legacy gifts were made. But we encouraged them to do that because we said, look, there are many that an emotional approach to legacy giving doesn't require that someone knows a lot about how gifts are made. What is more important is that a person has very good donor stewardship skills, but also knows how to administer a program effectively and will get all of the systems implemented in an effective way and is open to using an emotional approach. So they hired someone that had no experience in gift planning at all. Now, first of all, let's look at the results that they've achieved year by year. So this table shows you how many legacy gift commitments this organization received when they used the traditional way of engaging people in legacy giving, which is gift planning, face-to-face meetings. They received 9 legacy commitments a year. In 2014, they completely transformed their legacy program. It was based on emotion. There were no longer face-to-face meetings with prospective legacy donors, but they were sending out surveys and they were engaging their donors emotionally through an effective digital strategy, which we'll see in a minute. They jumped to 141 legacy commitments, so a massive increase. So let's have a look at what they did. The first thing they did, we worked with them to create a legacy video and interactive website, which in just 7 months has resulted in 48 legacy commitments and 84 leads. So let's look at the video they created and the website. So I'll just take you there now. So what we're looking at here is the Union Gospel Mission Legacy landing web page. So as you see, there's not much text at all. There is, if we go a little further down, but the first thing that people see is a video. So we want people to watch this video, and this we created with Union Gospel Mission.
I know what it's like to be ripped from my family, abused, afraid, and angry.
I know how it feels to be hopeless, to be brokenhearted, and lost in a haze of addiction.
I know how it feels to be living in the street, messed up and lonely.
I know how it feels to be beaten, abused, and to get no love at home.
I know how it feels to live a double life, lying to my family and myself.
I know how it feels to be full of hate, 25 years of anger and alcoholism.
I know how it feels to be addicted and homeless, in and out of jail, and to lose my children.
I know how it feels and to have a marriage collapse and my business fail.
I know how it feels to turn to criminal activity to fuel my drug use, to live under a bridge, and to watch my health and body waste away.
I know how it feels to have someone say, "Hey man, I love you." To know that it is true. To realize that I can be loved.
I know how it feels to come in from the rain, just for a meal, and discover God's divine plan for me.
I know how it feels to just looking for shelter and to find a whole new life.
I know how it feels to be accepted, to find a place that understands we all stumble at times.
I know how it feels to arrive and know that I was in the right place where people truly want to help me.
I know how it feels to be in recovery, to be clean and sober today, and to learn to forgive.
I know how it feels to have my kids back in our home, raise them, and pour God's love into their lives.
I know how it feels to cope with life's stresses, to take away the hard heart that I once had, and to use my gifts from God to help other people in their lives.
Your legacy
Is my life.
So somebody arriving on this page will watch the video, and then what we want them to do next, well, Union Gospel Mission does, is to click on one of these boxes. So I'd like information on leaving a gift in my will. I've already left a gift in my will, or I'm a professional advisor. So let's click on one of these boxes and see what happens. So they're taken to a page which thanks them for considering a gift in their will, because these are people that are interested, and then asks them to interact with the charity. So here they can put in their information, email, and send it to the charity. The legacy officer will receive this right away. Let's proceed anonymously here. Let's say that we don't want to give the organization our name, an email address, so that the organization can follow up. Then people can proceed anonymously, and if they do that, then they get immediately, this page comes up where they see sample gift language for leaving a gift to Union Gospel Mission, and also they can click on the legacy information booklet. So I just want to click on this and show you the information booklet. So this is what I call a case for support. And this will go out to people online, but also to people, of course, it will be mailed to people that are prospects or legacy donors that come in through the mail. But here you can see the case for support, the brand of the legacy program, Transform Lives, Leave a Legacy of Hope and Dignity, then a message from the president, encouraging people to think about leaving a legacy gift, and then the people that were featured in the video, talking about the impact that Union Gospel Mission has had on their lives and how their lives have been transformed. And then going down is information on what a legacy gift will do. If you leave a legacy gift of a certain size, this is what it will do. And then the bequest language that you will need to leave a gift in your will. And finally, a commitment to the legacy donors. So the legacy site encourages people to watch the video and then to act immediately. So I'll just go back to the presentation now. So as you can see, that web page and video has had a huge impact. They've seen a massive increase over the last 7 months in the number of legacy leads and commitments that they've got thanks to that video and website. But that's not the only way that they are now generating many more legacy commitments and leads. We work with them to create a legacy survey. So a legacy survey, again, is trying to get people to, trying to get organizations to think about how they can emotionally engage donors. So what a survey does, and it's customized, and here you can see the survey that was created, the back 2 pages anyway. It's a 4-page survey that was sent out in the mail or sent online to donors. Really, this survey is about trying to create a connection to donors, asking them why Union Gospel Mission is important to them, and also asking them their connection to Union Gospel Mission and any stories that they may have. So again, we're talking about the donor and what's important to the donor and the life experiences of the donor. So again, the survey is used to develop a connection to individual donors. It identifies the connection to the UGM mission and vision. It looks for stories that individuals have about their connection to that mission and vision. It identifies the largest potential gifts. And how the survey does that is, in the survey, it asks people, do you have children or grandchildren? And of course, those people that don't are the largest potential legacy donors. It asks people to identify the barriers. If they're not interested in leaving a legacy gift, what are the barriers for them? And then it gets personal data. So these aren't anonymous surveys. We're asking people to actually fill in their name and their contact information. I found surveys are the most inobtrusive and sensitive ways to ask people about their interest in the legacy giving process. So let's look at the results of the survey. Over the last year, Union Gospel Mission have sent out about 3,000 surveys. They've received an 18% response rate, and that's actually the lowest response rate that we've seen for the charities that we've worked with them. Why they get such high response rates in general is all of these surveys are sent out in a highly personalized way, handwritten envelopes. The letters that are sent with the survey come with a customized first paragraph. So a large response rate to the surveys. You can see 87 leads and 78 legacy commitments in 1 year. Way, way more legacy leads and commitments than they could ever hope to get if they visited donors one-to-one. So we've seen the case for support. Union Gospel Mission also created with us an annual legacy update, a 4-page update that went out not only to all of their legacy leads and donors, but also to a significant group of donors to try and engage those people in thinking about legacy giving. And why an update? Well, an update keeps the idea of legacy giving in front of donors. And again, no technical information in this update. It's all story-based. Unfortunately, a technical approach is still the norm. A technical approach to legacy giving is still the norm for most organizations. So what we've tried to do is to identify a way of finding out whether an organization is using a technical approach or an emotional-based approach for their legacy program. And one of the ways we did that is by using a Wordle or word cloud. So what I've done here is to analyze 3 different organizations. First, one of Canada's largest churches, then one of its largest universities, and then Union Gospel Mission. So we looked at the legacy web pages of those 3 organizations, and here's what a donor will typically see. Now, this is just imaginary, but these are the words that stand out because, of course, donors don't read everything, they just scan. So this, first of all, is the church, one of the largest churches, their legacy webpage. So we can see their financial, designated, deferred, insurance, residual, trusts. It's very technical information. Let's go to the university. The university legacies webpage, again, technical information, notary, bequest, endow, planned, estate. Again, it's technical information. Look at Union Gospel Mission, recovery, people, chance, recovery, life. It's much more socially relevant information. Another way that we're hoping to work with organizations is to look, we've developed a software program which basically evaluates web pages, a word-by-word score based on 3 different components. Now, first of all, this research was developed by 3 researchers. You can see their names at the bottom of the screen. I can't pronounce those names. I'm not even going to try. But what they did is they took 14,000 words and phrases in the English language, and then they tested them with people. And they tested them with people, and they asked those people to score them based on whether those words were pleasant, emotional, or whether they gave the donor, the person looking at the words a sense of freedom. In other words, were the words easy to understand or difficult to understand? And then, what we can do with the software program that we've developed is to take this research and analyze any web page and then create a graph which will show you a scoring system based on those 3 attributes. And here it is. I've had to squash this graph up so we can't really see what it would be like, but if we stretched it out, it would make more sense. But here what it does is it gives you a score. So it gives you a score based on pleasantness, emotional arousal, and degree of control. So we're looking, and you can see along the x-axis here, along the horizontal axis, the different words that were analyzed. And it goes on and on and on. But anyway, so what we do is we look at all the words and we create an emotional scoring system. So we can look at different websites and we can actually tell organizations over time, we can compare different legacy web pages and tell an organization, are they using language that is emotional, that is understood, that leaves the person feeling in control and is pleasant. So going back to Union Gospel Mission, we, to 2013, they rejected an emotional approach to legacy giving because they said it wouldn't work for their organization. In 2013, they changed and they decided to give an emotional-based approach for their legacy program a try. It was a big it was a significant investment for them at the time, but look at the returns. $6.5 million in legacy commitments in 2014. So a huge return, and certainly the investment has paid off many, many times over, and will continue to pay off because now they have a system in place that will help them to continue to generate legacy gifts forever and a day. So you may be asking, what steps can you take as an organization to try and develop an emotional approach to your legacy program? So I've identified a number of ways that you can do that. First of all, take a few days to review all your legacy giving or planned giving material. What percentage is technical of the words you use and what percentage is emotional? It's a quite simple way. You can just score all of your materials based on that way of reviewing. And what's your program focus? Are you providing information to people, or are you trying to reflect to donors their aspirations and life experience? So look at each paragraph you use in your material and say what percentage is informational and what percentage is relational. Ask your donors about their connection to your mission and vision and for their anecdotes. And I'm sure lots of you are already doing that. But getting those anecdotes, those stories are really important. Build mission-related stories. You will find that these stories, I'm sure, are useful for your legacy marketing, cultivation, and stewardship. And here's an important thing. Those stories that you collect do not have to be related to a legacy gift. Save a Canada, that organization that I showed you, the brand we developed for and the advert that we developed, they actually launched their legacy program with a mission-related story that had nothing to do with legacy giving whatsoever. But after they told that story and they had some pictures and it was the center spread of their newsletter where they told this story, they simply had a quote from a legacy donor that said, I'm leaving a gift in my will because I will see through the eyes of the people who are helped thanks to my gift in my will, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. So you don't have to have stories that are related to a legacy gift per se. You simply have to have emotional stories that you then connect to legacy giving. So obviously try and connect your stories to your legacy program and your legacy theme. So having a legacy program brand really helps make that connection. Generate systems that encourage your stakeholders to tell their stories. So systems that cross-promote your legacy program as you tell those great stories. Now, we started with Don Draper. If you've watched Mad Men, you will know that Don Draper was a terrible drinker. He smoked incessantly, and he had many adulterous affairs. And he didn't like himself. So obviously, we want you to emulate Don Draper, his brilliance as an advertiser and marketer, but try not to copy the other things that he did in life. And of course, also, if you are interested, and I'll send you out a survey link, if you're interested in the type of services and products we offer, if you fill out a short survey and I'll send it to you, we'll be happy to tell you about the type of things that we do with organizations. So now what I'm going to do is stop talking and hand it over to you. I will now try and unmute everyone so that you can talk if you want to. There we go. Okay, everyone. So if you've got questions, you can either ask them, or you can go to the bottom of the screen, your screen, and there is a chat box. Just turn down the volume on your speakers if you can a little bit. I'm getting a bit, that's it. And you can either chat and ask a question by going to the bottom, or you can speak out your question. Okay, I've got no questions at the moment. So if there are no questions, what I will do is, as I said, I will send out the PowerPoint presentation to everyone. And I will also send you a link. If you're interested, you can complete a short survey. If you're interested in the programs and services we offer to find out more. And I'll send you a link to this presentation so that you actually have this presentation in its entirety, the video and the audio, and you can share that with anyone you like. So thank you everyone for participating. Brian, Eric, Laurie, and somebody else who is not identified here who joined us. We will, I think you're all on our the ST Legacy Group e-blog, so I'll make sure that we send out a monthly e-blog. It's a way to communicate with anyone. If you're particularly interested in any topics, let us know for future blogs or for future webinars. We'd be happy to try and accommodate you. So not hearing any questions, I will close the meeting, and have a good day, everyone.
This should be Friday. Sure that.